I've just been doing a video to promote making a book out of these things. So I've got not a lot of room in here, so I have to move the stool back a bit further, so I could get in front of the camera. It's crazy. So only because somebody said this morning, why don't you do a book? So that's the reason why I thought about doing a book. So I put it up thinking that somebody might comment and say, yeah, it's a good idea or not. This was this morning's lesson, which was a follow-on from yesterday, which is not quite done, that one. I just need to fix a few of the shapes at the bottom there. But it was about this half shadow thing. And I was explaining yesterday about the fact that having the face broken into shapes, even though it seems more complicated, it's a lot easier because you've got smaller shapes and more and closer relationships to consider. So it makes it a lot easier and ultimately much more effective. And then this one was the similar thing, where it was more about the shadow there and not drawing the face, and not thinking of it as in terms of a large, typical facial shape. To try and override the usual kind of approach of, oh, it's an oval, or it's an egg and it's divided and it's this, that, to try and override that, just so you're looking at shapes and tone. That's all it is. It's just shapes and tone. That's all drawing ever is. And then this is the thing. This is what's interesting about this title on this video may be a bit misleading, because I am going to do it start to finish. But the point of what I'm saying is that somebody had made a drawing. I'm going to draw this lady here. I don't know if the microphone's any better where it is, but I'm going to draw this lady here. Try not to knock the mic. I'm going to draw that one, and also nice light and things. So somebody had done a fabulous drawing on one of these groups, and somebody then obviously needs more contrast, all that sort of thing. These people have no idea what that means, but they say, increase the contrast, increase the darks or whatever. But the guy had just got a nice balance of tones, the proper range. You know what I mean? When I talked about this balance thing before, I don't know if it's visible on this in a way, but the idea that tonal values have a range that relate, so they're not suddenly becoming really dark. They're actually there's some balance. It's clearly within the same tonal range. To throw in a dark or to throw in a white, white chalk or whatever, it just messes with that continuity of that relationship, that range. But anyway, there were those kind of, and then somebody else said about this guy that does this with big bits of charcoal and all that, and the problem with that is that that's not drawing. It's painting more than drawing. Because the guy, this is the start to finish thing. The guy, he draws the thing in outline and then he colours it in. That's basically what he does. So no one should be under the misapprehension that it's drawing, because it's not. The first bit might be when he puts down the line, but then when he starts putting it's already drawn. So for me, that's the where it breaks down. And I don't know. It made me think, well, maybe what I do is probably, for the uninitiated, probably sketching. They might call it sketching. For me, it's drawing. It's start to finish drawing. There's no interruption. There's no outline, which I'm going to try and color in some way. This is drawing from start to finish. But this is what I was thinking, and then following on from the tracing thing yesterday, that people have this idea that it's an outline which you color in, as opposed to the drawing of things, and the problem that causes, it's like I'm talking about the practice thing. I always think that, and I see these people that do loads of faces on a page, really well, really good, and I just think that, would you be better off just doing it for real? You're faffing around in a sketchbook. You could just be doing it for real. Why are you messing? Oh, it's so I can learn how to do it. Well, every drawing is different. Every face is different. Every person you meet is different. So it's never going to be the same. Never going to be the same nose that you've been practicing, or the same eyes that you've been practicing. But it's one of those things. So if someone's drawing an outline, to start with, which they then colour in some way, colour it in tonally or with colours. They're doing it twice, as far as I can tell. And the biggest thing for me is that this process now, and I've just done it on that one this morning, and I was talking about the things that happen in those early stages when it's pure response and nothing else. They're the most valuable parts of your drawing. That doesn't happen if you're just putting an outline down with the intention of colouring it in. Your concern for the initial marks and nothing more than how accurate they should be. They are the parameters with which you're putting boundaries around the way you're going to respond to it. And that, again, that's the thing that I don't get. I think it's a legacy thing that we have this, that drawing is a linear process, and it's all about putting lines around things, putting outlines around things, which we're then going to colour in, or we're going to tonally treat in some way, and perhaps the creativity will come in at that point. When you're making these fancy marks, it's all a bit. It's a bit like it's not really thought about. I think I can understand why it's like it is. It's a legacy thing. That's how traditionally people have done it. But it just seems such a outdated almost. I know it's not outdated, but you know what I mean. It just feels a little bit like they haven't really thought about what they're doing. It's just a that's the process, right? Let's just do that. That's how everybody does it. Let's just do that. And this one particular guy who's doing it is well renowned and teaches, in a UK online UK thing, and so it's an acceptable way of doing it. I'm not saying that I'm not saying it's particularly wrong. It's wrong for me, but for most people, it's right. But I don't know. I just think there's a better way. That's all it is. I think one of the main things for me is this continuity of response. So whilst ever I'm in the process of connecting with this individual, this subject, there's no break in that connection, and all it does. And if you consider portraits to be a conversation, then the conversation just gets better as you get to know that person better, and consequently, the portrait then evolves. And if, as I've said, the initial response is such that it contains all that, the life that you feel for that, or the initial response, and has the life in it that you feel towards that individual, then chances are those initial marks are going to have everything within them. That's what it's saying about the eye on that, the one that we did this morning. There was so much that you can see what's happening now. It's things, as I'm getting to know this face, things happen which are partly positional stuff, the kind of thing that guy would do before he coloured it in, but partly the colouring in bit. So it's all happening all at once. So again, it's start to finish. It's the marks begin, the tones are applied all at once. It's not a case of, well, just do that bit as a first stage, and then we'll break off, and then we'll start to add tone to that. It's all a bit fragmented. If you're thinking about it being responsive, this as a thing, this is a responsive approach, then it doesn't work. Then it has to be broken off at some point to continue it with some other medium or with a different tool. I think that more than anything, I think that's what the main difference is with what I do, and this acceptance of faults and mistakes and all that kind of thing are all part of that, because I just see that I can't have a perfect mindset. It's got to be spot on and accurate kind of mindset. If I'm working in this way with this sort of rapid response stuff, there has to be some errors to it, and there has to be some. I can't call them mistakes because they're not, but there has to be some things that I didn't intend, and not that I intend anything other than just see what you see what's happening, but it has to be like that. I have to be accepting of the flaws of something, and accept that sometimes those flaws are what make it work. So that, you've seen, that is pure flow. That's all that is. There's lots of things wrong with it. There's alignments that are completely out, but I can fix all that now. You know, that was as the next stage, if you like, as I begin to refine this. Sort of the elements, but I've got all the nice initial marks down that were part of that, me connecting with the subject, and how far I go with it is up to me, really. As I suppose the execution side of it is not really it's not really a high importance to me. I think the execution is not the be all and end all. Most people, it would be, the drawing thing, the way they apply tones and so on and so forth. It would be about those things. It would be very much about the drawing. For me, the execution isn't necessarily the primary concern, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it so quickly. I'd be too focused on making accurate marks and so on and so forth. So I tend not to, in the early stages, not to be too worried about how the marks, even down to sort of tones and things. I like to find the shapes using tones. So how I apply those tones is part of that rapid response thing. So it's not about perfection and not evenness and even the right density. All that gets fixed now when I'm trying to rectify things and move things around, and just basically solidify, I suppose, solidify the marks that I've made, solidify the response that I've made to it, to make it more I can't say accurate, because sometimes it's not about the accuracy. On that one this morning with the eye, you can hardly say that eye. If you saw it, if you were in the lesson, you can hardly say that's an accurate eye, but it still looks like an eye. So I need to keep those things. I need to refine them, and I need to keep that freshness. And this has got it as well. So that's at this stage, that's always the problem, is to try and keep that spontaneous response stuff, because it's probably the most valuable part of the drawing. I think the other thing about it as well is that you've got to be fairly. See, I don't give a damn how it turns out, so I haven't got a preconceived idea of the quality that I expect it to be and all the rest of it, or even any particular result in terms of technique. But so I'm fairly, as you see, it's fairly bold with the marks that I make, quite fearless almost. So, which is a thing that I think is really important to me. I think you have to be bold and fearless when it comes to making marks and just responding. I don't think you can be responsive if you're not like that. Prepared to make mistakes thing, that kind of thing. charcoal's better than the this charcoal is better than the oil pastels, but it's not great. It's not a great piece of charcoal. It's got very much. It's not as I don't know if it's softness that causes it, but it's not as easy to make a mark with it as it should be. And it's one of those things that if it's not flowing, if it's not, if you can't glide across the surface and it makes a mark, then as soon as you have to press hard to make a mark, then your marks are going to be dull, if you like. Whereas if the marks are responsive and flowing, they invariably have a lot of life in them. And that really is I think that's the secret of making a portrait, is that the life is in the marks that you make. And I think that if the charcoal's just getting in the way of that, or whatever it is, the medium, i.e., things like the oil pastels, where they're demanding that you engage with them in order to make even the simplest of marks, then all of a sudden you lose that lovely kind of flowing mark making process it goes. And this charcoal's a little bit like that. It's okay, but it's still, I've had better charcoal. You've seen me do where the charcoal really flows, and when that happens, I tend to do lots of drawings in a day because the charcoal just flows. But this is not one of those pieces. It's okay, as I say, it's okay, and I've done most of the drawings in the last few days with this particular piece. But I'm going to make some more this week because I promised some for my friends. So hopefully I can make a better batch next time. Don't ask me what makes a better batch, by the way, because I have no idea. I do have an oven which was intended to make things simpler, rather than putting it on a little barbecue. But the oven, so you get it to 300, 400 degrees, which is, I think it's 400 and something to pyrolyze. I think that's what they call it, the wood. But it's because of the wood. The wood's not consistent. If it was the same age and it was, the same moisture content, then I'm pretty sure that you'd get better results. And that's what we'll do in commercial environments. But for me, I just cut it and stick it in a tin and away you go. So it's never predictable, and often it fails. It's been failing quite a bit lately. So hit and miss. I think the way around it, the way I get around it, is just basically make lots of it and hope for the best. Sort of. And I do get a significant part of amount of charcoal. So it's not like everything I make goes to waste. But as I said, the talking about the start to finish thing, the things that I'm doing now, I'm still doing. If you were talking about the outlining thing, I'm actually still doing the outlining thing. I'm still at that stage where I'm figuring out where things are. I'm not, and I'm also doing, applying the tones to it as well. So it is start to finish all in one. It never stops and starts. It never goes through stages. Which is what this guy was doing. So it had a stage to it before you. So and the problem with that is, I think that there's a dependency on an acquired technique or skill, whereas I don't have that dependency. The dependency for me is on my ability to see with accuracy, my observational accuracy. It's all those sort of things. The marks I make are skillfully applied as a consequence of the number of times I've done it, and my intention is simply to respond, and capture. But those skills are just a consequence of that. They're not necessarily deliberate skills. The stuff that I'm going to practice me drawing eyes kind of thing. It's none of that, or even I'm going to practice my tonal blending and things like it's people do that sort of stuff, which is all a bit misguided, shall we say. But as I said, the consequence of doing it like this is that you have a lot of things happen that are not intended. You kind of make the marks that you're not, you didn't think you were going to make, or there's no consideration of the marks, and that results in some really interesting things. It's not like providing you're alive to it, obviously, because a lot of people don't really see that. They have an objective in mind, and as they're drawing, this is the sort of stage people, as they're drawing, they're assessing the quality of the marks they're making at the various stages, and that's not in relation to the end game, the end, the output that they've got in mind, which is never a good thing, that to have it's going to be this good and it's going to be that good and it's going to look like this and that and another. It's never a good thing. That it's too much pressure. I saw somebody this morning that was commenting on the fact that they had to draw his wife, and the pressure he felt not to make a mess of it, so which is crazy, because one of the things I'd say is that when you draw a loved one, right, it's probably the perfect example of how portraits should be made, how they should be done. You should be able to connect with the face and the individual at an emotional level and respond emotionally to that face. And what better way than with a loved one? And that, the fact that, I know the pressure well. So with my missus, you've got to make them sort of look a certain way, and I suppose it's famously quoted from Sargent saying that he was fed up with people saying, "Can you make my nose look smaller?" and so on and so forth. So it's quite a common thing, and as I said, the pressure of that is quite significant. But if you trust in this is the thing about the doing it in stages, or thinking it in terms of a technical production. If you're trusting your response and your skills are developed from this genuine response approach, you will always be successful in capturing the essence of somebody, whether or not even the nose is too big and whether you're going to fix it. That's irrelevant. He wouldn't do that. But if you're coming at it from a point of view, it's got to be a great mechanical execution that's perfectly rendered. And so on. If you come at it from that point of view, you're always going to be under pressure, because it's just at that point it's just a copy of something, isn't it? And that the last thing you want to do, particularly with a loved one, is make a copy of a face that anybody else can see. You want to be showing them what you see in that person. That's what you want to do. It's the same with self-portraits. Don't show the world what they can already see. Show them so it's just plain that's going over the top. Just show them what is special about you, what makes you you. And that's what self-portrait's all about. But people, and the only way you can do that is if you let yourself, if you give in to the response aspect of doing this. If you don't do that, if you try and contrive your essence, if you like, it's never going to work. That it just has to be a completely emotional response thing. Whether it's a loved one or it's a self-portrait, it's always the same kind of. You should always have the same approach. So this, what I've done now, is complete one start to finish, and it's all responsive, and it's the foundation, I suppose. If you wanted to go on, I will go on and finish this off, and I will go on. It's like when I did that one yesterday. It's the same kind of thing. It's you get to a stage where you can take it to the next stage, and you can then start to put details in and whatever else, and refine some of the tones and things. But working in this way, you get to the essence of it quite rapidly, and it's down to you whether or not you think it justifies actually putting the effort in to tidy things up, to make it a bit more detailed in places. It's up to you to do that. There's a danger you might lose the essence, but the point is that you caught the essence in the first place. You don't do an outline and then try and put the essence into it, because by the time you're drawing the outline, you've disconnected from the subject. And once you're disconnected from the subject, it's never about response. It's always about a replication. So that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to drone on about it. If you see the book thing, the book video that I've done, just comment below if you think it's a good idea, or you can put a comment below this. I just want to find out whether it's worth doing. That's all. I've thought about it before, but not only being scared off by the cost of it. I never really thought of things like Kickstarter. So, and it's always, I've always heard bad things about Kickstarter. So, and then I've heard bad things about printers as well. So the whole thing is a bit of a daunting task. So if you think it's a good idea, just let me know below. And if enough people think it's a good idea, then I'll consider doing it. But at the moment, I'm nowhere, one way or the other. If it's something I want to do, I kind of want to do it, but don't want to do it, if that makes sense. And the problem is, I think that I don't want to make a drawing book, because that's be completely against my philosophy. And I think that's what people would want, a how to draw thing. I think there's loads of those around. So, there's plenty of that kind of thing for people to buy and to enjoy. I was going to say learn from, but some of them are dire. They're not going to teach you much at all. But there's plenty of that stuff around. So I don't want to compete, if you like, with that kind of thing. But I just thought that it would be quite nice to put, if I could find that, I'm going to put 100 in, I think, in the first one, because I'm going to do several books. So, volumes, but it would be quite nice to put them into a well printed book, the feel of a book, rather than because I could do it on the internet. I could just compile a digital library, if you like, of them, but it wouldn't be right, would it? It wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't feel like a book. Picking a book up and is I think is a nice thing. Anyway, right, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to fix the tones. I'm going to just put a bit more effort into the hair, and I'm going to keep some of these rapid marks that have appeared during the process. Now tweak the eyes a little bit. That's going to go up a little bit. The chin's going to come up a little bit on this side, just to get that a bit better. It's, that thing a bit better. I've not got the alignments quite right, so I'm going to get a bit more of that in it. But yeah, and then sort out the cheek, which is a bit lower down than that. But yeah, it's just about there. Right, I'll love you and leave you, and I'll catch you in the next one.